For those of you who don't know me, I'm MPG. I am the CEO or Executive Director at Filecoin Incentive Design Labs, or FIDDLE. And we've been established to build tooling and metrics that measure the impact of changes that we make into incentive programs. So if you think about incentive programs like Phil Plus, we are kind of building this as we go. But what changes, when we introduce changes, are they actually impacting the ecosystem, and are we achieving the same the outcomes that we were hoping to achieve? So that's what FIDDLE helps with. We are not the governance team. Many people confuse us with the governance team. That's my fabulous colleague Galen, who will be talking in just 10 minutes about more of the program side of things. But we work very closely with the governance team, of course. So we just build and measure things and give the output and then help people understand those metrics. One of the primary things that FIDDLE has built over the last 12-15 months is datacapstats.io, which is overview of the different dashboards. It's way bigger than you'd probably guess at the first sight. So with that out of the way, let's dive into the details and the metrics. So we have been stably increasing the amount of data cap that in the system, so going through Phil Plus program, and the amount of data that is continuously used by the allocators. I put in here the big purple line is when we had our FDS 6. I wanted to show you how much changed, FDS 5 in Bangkok. So I wanted to show you how much has changed over the period of the last, whatever it is, 6 months, 5 months. We now have a total approved 84 allocators and 72 active allocators, meaning ones that have actually allocated data cap to users. And we are continuously working with the governance team to eliminate those that are not active. So just maintain a steady number of allocators that are active. And the structure of the system has changed. I don't have a graph, unfortunately, to show you how it looked like during FDS 5, but basically during the last FDS, most of the allocations from allocators were going from root key holders directly to the allocators. This is a problem for various reasons. First and foremost, this introduces unnecessary delays, also gives the governance team less flexibility because now they have to interact with different parties and so on. So together we developed this concept of meta allocators, which are smart contracts that are governed by a team. And those meta allocators kind of gather a similar type of an allocator under their umbrella and manage the allocation of data cap. Currently, we have 2 meta allocators. There is the manual pathway meta allocator, which is the MPMA that you can see on the Sankey graph. And then there is also the experimental pathway meta allocator. We also have the automatic pathway with an automated allocator that is a faucet.allocator.tech, where you can get a small amount of data cap. But most of automated allocators go still through the direct relationship with root key holders because they're a bit harder to evaluate and so on and so forth. But we are now moving all of the manual allocators into the MPMA in the hope that this will really improve the engagement, the interactions with the governance team and with the whole system. When we look at the compliance of data cap over time, there's still very little that goes to obviously bad actors, which is something that we are very happy. As you can see, over the course of the last 6 months, this has improved even further. There was, especially at the beginning, a big there was a lot of bad actors, but then now we have either about 30% is going to SPs that are clearly compliant, so they meet 3 of the metrics that we defined as primary ones for measuring compliance, which is having retrievability score above average, having at least 3 clients, and having at most 30% of data cap coming from a single user. So when we talk about the metrics, if we look at those metrics but remove the retrievability requirement, that even improves even further. And I would say, as the graphs show, since changes to FBS5, is that about 10% more data cap is allocated to SPs, meaning 2 out of the 3, or 2 out of 2 if we remove the retrievability requirement. Retrievability still continues to be extremely hard to measure, and while it is a metric that is important to us and it's important to Filecoin as a network, we are just really struggling a little bit to build tooling that is reliable. And I'm sure for those of you who follow different channels, you're aware of the challenges out there. Something that I wanted to also point out is that on datacapstats.io now, if you click on the bar for a certain week, you can actually go into a detailed view of which storage providers are in which category and define those metrics there. So it's not just a pretty graph with colors, you can actually drill down exactly to the numbers that you want. We also looked, that's something new that we developed, is looking at data cap from previous Phil Plus iterations. As you all know, Phil Plus has gone through 4 or 5 iterations now. So we're looking at, how has it changed since or between old iterations and now. And what we were very worried about actually when we started developing this metric was that we were worried that there's a lot of data cap from the previous iterations where we know that we had issues with compliance and we couldn't control it very well. So, there's loads of this data cap that is floating around, and simply the reason why our metrics are looking much better now is because people that want to, extract value from the system are using the, let's say, old data cap. Good news is that actually this is not the case. There is about 120 pibs of data cap that were used at early stages of Phil V5, so this iteration. And there are no allocations to clients since the beginning of July 2024. So this old data cap isn't really being used, it's kind of dormant. Similarly, clients still own about 200 pibs of data cap, but they aren't really using it in new deals, which is also a great thing. If we look at the data cap flow based on audits, the thing that transpires from it is that with each iteration, there is less and less of conditional data cap allocations. Either it becomes good or not good, which is good for us. We do see that basically the governance team is getting better at clearly defining the roles and catching the non-compliance in a better way. And also the actors are changing their behavior based on those audits and moving more towards being a better allocator. This is a very busy slide, but I didn't want to kind of have one slide per topic. So all of these graphs, or both of those graphs, show you the review progress of allocators and the compliance according to the compliance reviews. So one thing is that we can try measuring the objective metrics like retrievability of storage providers or how many clients they have and so on. But a lot of the program right now relies on the governance team reviewing allocators when they start running out of data cap. And for when we look at that kind of thing, we can see very clearly that there is a big shift that it's actually the opposite to what Copernicus used to say about bad money pushing out good money. In our case, good data cap is pushing out the bad data cap. So as each with each audit, good allocators get double their data cap allocation, which means that over time, actually, even if it's not many allocators, that are compliant, they do hold, or they are able to allocate most of the data cap from the system. And if you look at the graph on the left, which shows you kind of amount of data cap that was given to each allocator per stage, you will see that they do tend to kind of go, if they were yellow, they go from yellow to green, and they do change their behavior based on the fact that they were given the like midway or like likely compliant status. And also, last thing is that the biggest allocator has received 6.5% of total data cap. So also it is not held by just one allocator. If you want to look at the compliance reports, they're not very easy to present. So I encourage you to just go into compliance.allocator.tech and review them on your own. Submit your views and opinions there, or like improvements. Similarly for clients, we have the client reports. You can go through data cap stats and the clients tab and then just click through the reports. Or if you know the client ID, you can just put it in where the fourth element of this URL. And with that, Galen, over to you.
Hello, everybody. Galen McAndrew. I've been here for a little bit of time. Running Filecoin Plus governance team. We have a couple different people on the call that you may also know. I think I saw Kara here as well. And Danny also, does work with the Filecoin Plus governance and is a great kind of advisor in the space on how we manage this open source community. But I wanted to talk about some of our priorities as we look at them. These are going to be some updates from Dev Summit 5, as well as kind of moving forward. So where we are around allocator success, and based on time, I'll jump into more of these. I think I've got 9 minutes. Compliance, communications, product market fit, and system design. So I think we'll have time to go through all of these. With the realm of allocator success, we talked a lot just now about how many allocators we onboarded, right? Over 80. We've gotten over 70 of those as active. We've been in contact with the ones that are inactive. And we had some teams that applied for data cap to be an allocator, and it just, their priorities changed and they became inactive. We have other teams who they still are in development and want to be building on this, but they're not at the point ready to take clients. So we're working on that. It's a lot of outreach and comms, but some of the things that are coming in the future, we've got some updates to this request for allocators document that we're working on, because we are learning more about the areas where there's room for improvement. From those 80, as MPG was saying, as we complete the compliance reviews, we start to see how can we use compliance reviews to help as an intervention and help steer them into the happy path of compliance. Most of these people really want to help grow this ecosystem, and they just want better standards to understand how to do that. So what are some of the ways that we can add new types of allocators rather than more duplicative or redundant? If we've already got a really successful set of allocators that are really good at one use case, one type of client, one type of data, one type of SP, what are some of the other ways that we can add more? With that, the other big area that we've been working on is the new round 6 allocator elections. As far as going into round 6, it's going to be some new election tooling. We're decreasing the application form. It's going to be shorter, it's going to be faster, and it's going to have more standardization. It should be faster and easier to fill out that form. One of the pieces of feedback that we got is it's very long, but also it was a lot of long form text. It made it very hard for us to review and read through all of those applications for allocators and process them quickly. So we're going for a faster turnaround time from the Gov team. In previous cycles, we've had sort of a long application window where we took all the applications in and then we closed and we reviewed all of them. We've gotten better at these rolling application cycles. That was a new thing from the last round. So our goal now is to use that learning to have faster turnaround. So as we get applications and review them, we don't need to wait for a whole cohort. We could start saying this allocator is ready to go. Maybe they're existing, maybe their application is really strong. They've got a lot of great evidence that they can show. And how do we have this tooling support us approving and onboarding them? We've learned a lot from the meta allocator structure and using these different smart contracts. There's new tooling that will connect these signers to this meta structure that decreases some of the burden on the root key holders. It allows us to unblock these teams faster, and then we do a larger audit of all of that work from the gov team up to the root key holders, and the root key holders then audit that whole process to make larger tranches of data cap available to a bigger cohort rather than a one-to-one relationship where each root key holder is auditing and approving every interaction. It's also going to lead to some better back-end architecture. We've had this JSON system as sort of a state of truth. It's been really useful in being able to go into the allocator registry GitHub repo and see all of the active allocators. We can point dashboards, we can point developers to it. We're making that even better, even more standardized, and even cleaner. Additionally, compliance, the other very large bucket of work that we do. The audits take a huge amount of time. We have gotten significantly faster. And I think that we've gotten faster without sacrificing accuracy and diligence. We are still doing pretty in-depth investigations, but we've increased the tooling, we've increased the standardization, we've increased the templates and the training to the allocators. So now we've helped the allocators show us and the broader community the information that we need to see. If they can present it to us and we don't have to go try and dig and comb through everything, we can really cut down that review timeline. Our target is less than 5 days to go from that compliance audit being ready for the gov team to review through to them having that refresh allocation on chain. And we're getting there. Part of the reason we're getting there is we've invested in staffing. That increased staffing support has really helped us cut that time to review in half. And I already mentioned some new reporting tools and some of the increased standardization. We recently launched some changes to the policy and compliance documentation. Those are in the GitHub README. There's a link here if you have the slides, but it's also in the GitHub Filecoin Plus allocator governance repo. And one of the things that we're trying to push for is just more consistency and more clarity around what are we auditing? What is compliant behavior? And so for teams that are working on public open data, one of the largest things that we look at are those retrieval ratings. How retrievable is this data to demonstrate that it is accurately public and open? We're looking at a lot of other factors as well, like sector padding, like evidence of diligence on the allocator, like data preparation and indexing information. But one of the largest metrics is retrievability. And we have some other teams that are building new retrieval testing, as well as teams that are investing in retrieval sampling. So being able to actually go get samples of data and unpack them and look into them. So excited for where we're going with retrievability and proving, that this data is what people claim, that it is able to be accessed, and that we do have this robust, network of humanity's most important data. For private enterprise data, we're really looking at how do we have proofs of payment and proofs of KYC, KYB to show non-collusion, because we want Filecoin Plus, as a reminder, it qualifies for real clients with real data doing real distributed deal making. So not all of that is going to be public open data, right? You're going to have private things that are encrypted. Well, how do you create a system that allows a trusted group of people to review, audit, and verify that that is true? So how do we see that proof of payment, and how do we see those different know your client or know your business? For comms, we've had a lot of great conversations back and forth in Slack and on our gov calls. The gov calls continue to happen every other week. We have 2 time slots. We post an announcement for an agenda where people can add agenda items, and we are open for policy discussions, support questions, different programmatic updates. We're also working on adding some new short form videos, taking snippets from those different calls and parsing that down so that when we have a really important update coming from a different team or from the gov team, we could cut that and publish it. We're also working on some updates to our discovery website, the bill.org Filecoin Plus allocator. The Filecoin Foundation manages this. This is also coming from the work that we're doing with that new application cycle. We want to increase that client and allocator matchmaking process. We want it to be smoother. How can we direct clients to a place, a landing page where they can say, I've got this kind of data, I'm looking for this kind of allocator, help me out, and make that onboarding really fast. Speaking of onboarding, we care about product market fit. The whole ecosystem is worried about this right now. And we care about the system design. We've got one model, one mode of sort of QAP. We've got all these different routes to get to that QAP, but then we have that one 10x QAP. What are other ways we could change that? What are ways we could either flex that QAP into different quality adjusted power calculations? How do we test that? How do we get a system where we could say, what if there was a 2x multiplier that did this? How do we build a testing bed for that so that we can then go look at the test results and then come back to the community with a reasonable, meaningful fit proposal and actually review it? We're also looking at new meta allocators. The experimental meta allocator is launched. It's taking applications. The goal here is to support teams that have an MVP but need some more runway, need to be able to do some on-chain testing with real data cap. So that experimental pathway is being managed by the Fiddle team. Excited to see teams that go through that process, get a small amount of data cap to further build out their MVP. They need to come with some tooling already ready to go. This is an opportunity to then test more. A proposal that we're going to be launching soon is for another meta allocator for sort of on-ramps. And these are designed for sort of large-scale enterprise service providers who sit in between maybe clients and storage providers and do either that data brokering or data prep or data distribution. But they're operating on a larger scale where they're maybe doing a lot of diligence up front and a lot of diligence on their SPs, but then giving out very large enterprise scale tranches of data cap. That wouldn't necessarily fit into the existing structures like we showed of direct audit from the root key holders or that manual pathway. So how do we have a new sort of node in the tree that supports those? Next steps, join the governance calls. Watch for the round 6 allocator application. We'll be announcing it all over the place. If you're a team that's building, please submit an application to the experimental pathway when you have that MVP and come join us in person at FDS 6.